Attention, new agents. This is me, Dr. Byron Brimstone, Director of the Omen. That's the Office for Occult Monitoring, Examination, and Negation. I'm here to give you a short intro into the adventures of the Omen Investigations team. Join us on a comedy role-playing podcast set in the modern world, where 3 agents travel the globe to deal with demons, cultists, and conspiracy theories. Follow the exploits of Koala Jackson, an amnesiac Australian with a dark history.
Yeah.
Annabelle St. John, a gun-sticking girl from the deep south.
Is it a gun cult or is it a pony cult?
And Dr. Martin, a disgraced former professor from Sweden.
I mean, I am from Sweden.
If you like listening to people search for monsters, aliens, entities from beyond the void, and other such hoo-ha, then you should check out Omen Investigations on all good podcast apps. Brimstone out. Dolores, remind me why we're podcasting our top-secret operations again.
Those are funny, Mr. Brimstone.
Right.
Welcome one and all to Merely Roleplayers, where theatrical people play role-playing games. My name's Matt Boothman. I am your compère for this Backstage episode from our main house show. I'm joined backstage by Ellie.
Hello.
By Chris Starkey.
Hello.
And by subject of today's Backstage episode, Strat.
Ahoy hoy.
How are you feeling, Strat? Are you excited about creating your character?
I am, yes, I am. It's cool. It's going to be very different to how we usually do this. And I'm kind of sad because we only get to do it once. This was always one of my favourite bits of previous seasons, so let's make this a good one.
Well, we'll do other character creation in the studio shows. You can get your fix there.
Yeah, good.
Very cool. So tell us, first of all, which playbook are you playing and what drew you to this one?
I went with the Monstrous. It sounded kind of fun. In other games I've played and we have played, I've played kind of monstrous characters and I've always enjoyed it. Seemed a little bit different, and I also kind of liked the idea of coming up with kind of a fun monster to be part of the hunters and do some weird stuff.
And to sort of add a monster type to the setting as well. You get a nice bit of control over whatever you decide to be. That means that type of thing is part of our story.
Yeah, quite. That did appeal. And I spent a lot of time trying to work out. In fact, as I mentioned to the group outside of a recorded situation, I came up with about 5 or 6. So
you do there's a lot of different options to combine in this playbook.
So many variations, yeah.
Yeah, so this is your, if we're talking Buffy, this is your angel type character who is sort of half human, half monster, struggling to do good against their evil nature. Are there any other kind of examples of that archetype that you've got in mind while you're putting this character, either to rail against or to sort of build in?
Yeah, well, it's interesting really because it's funny because when the monster breed that it says in the playbook is you're half human, half monster, decide if you're always this way, blah, 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 kind of sets it up to be you're a vampire or you're a werewolf. But then you look through some of the other, the default options they've got, and there is some orc or demon, which that's not half, that's just you are a monster. So clearly there were options of going full monster, which I decided I wanted to do that. And there's lots of, I was thinking there's lots of the teen horror, werewolf and vampires and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't want to be a shiny Robert Pattinson or anything like that. So there's a really great series of books called Rivers of London. And in those books, there are characters called, there's Genius Loci. And they are, in that book, they are humans that are kind of imbued with power. They represent like natural occurrences, most rivers. In the case of rivers, London, there is Father Thames, and there all the other tributaries of London are represented by a person, a genius loci, and they draw their power from the rivers. And I really like that. And in other games, I've kind of played more like fae characters, and I enjoy the kind of mischievous side of that. And there's also the opportunity with those sorts of characters for kind of shapeshifting, which is something else I kind of enjoy playing with as well. So like all of that came together of an idea of a fae creature that I can create.
Very cool. So it sounds like you've obviously spent some time with the playbook. You've played around with some different options. So this sounds like this is going to be a case of tell us which options you've picked, rather than kind of let's go through it and help you with decisions.
Yeah, I think so. And I think with this playbook, it's interesting because you almost have to, like, with other characters, you can choose a bit about who you are, and then the moves can complement that. Whereas with this build, the moves very much make what you are. I can't say I'm certain things and then not have certain moves. So yeah, this was work out what sort of monster you are and then take the moves that allow you to do what that monster would do. So yeah, I've got it pretty much figured out, and it's just a case of kind of walking everyone through it and seeing what else you can bring to the character as well.
Cool. Well, let's go through it in playbook order, and we can sort of ask questions of you as we go. So do you have a name for this character, first of all?
Yes, this character is called Brier.
Nice. Sounds very fae. You said this is a fae sort of character?
Yes, it is.
I did briefly think you were going to say Brian.
Brian. Hello.
I hoped.
I'm Brian the Fairy. Nice to meet you.
That's a different type of character, Brian the Fairy.
But Brier is, yeah.
Okay, and so then you get some options for look. You get some gender presentation options, some options for your aura, which no other playbook gets, and options for your clothes. So what have you gone for there? In
terms of look, as you'll see, the sort of monster I am is a shapeshifter, so they can. And I've done some research, and I've found a Celtic kind of fae creature that I want to build this around. So I'll tell you some of the fun things that they kind of were known to do. But so the look I'm going to go for is mysterious. I want them to kind of be that sort of like general, like beautiful when they are in a human presenting form. I want them to be that, say, like everybody could find something attractive about them, and it's kind of, they're just kind of, everyone's like, oh hello, yeah, and it's part of the aura that they present, because they can be whatever they want to be. But their true form is a 1.5 foot pixie. Just so you know.
That's so good.
But yeah, so a mysterious look.
I love the idea that people are falling in love with them left, right, and centre because they've got this something about them that's so ethereally beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then you like wake up next morning and it's a 1.5 foot pixie in your bed.
Yeah. Well,
we've all been there.
The interesting.
We've all been there. Speak for yourself, Chris.
Yeah, the things that you got up to in your mid-20s, eh, Chris? So yes, mysterious, aura-wise, so I can have sinister, powerful, dark, unnerving, energetic, evil, or bestial. And I will be going for bestial aura.
Ooh.
I think there's something below the surface that is, unnerving.
What, like animalistic?
Mm-hmm.
So very, very ethereally beautiful. But
yeah, you know how there's the kind of fae that they can almost be feline. There's a danger to them. Like they're graceful, but
they could use that to jump on you, yeah.
Mm.
And not in a nice way.
You're a sexy cat.
I am a sexy cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's right. You say that over and over again, and then you put that on a t-shirt, my friend.
Meow.
I was very tempted, Ellie, to call my character Tilly.
It's so weird.
And then make my character your cat, who one day just goes, ha, I'm a fairy.
Oh my God, can you imagine? I mean, you'd have to put a lot of energy into being an absolute arsehole for the entire time. So.
Yeah, I would have to go around and piss on all your belongings.
That's right.
Let's not roleplay that.
No, I'm very pleased that you've discarded that option.
Yeah, absolutely. Bestial aura, and then clothes, which obviously they'll just be wearing when they're in their human form. But I had a few ideas. I'm thinking, and they've been around for a very long time, and they'd pick up different fashion. And I think it's, like the horsey set who wear kind of the jobbers and the tall boots and all that sort of stuff. I think that's
like gilets and barber jackets.
Yeah, when they're in human form, they're they're like upper class country.
Emphasis on the
country.
Yes,
wearing hunters' wellies.
Yeah, all that.
So that's and obviously clothes can change, especially for somebody who is a shapeshifter or can use glamours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a kind of a general idea of your style. In true pixie form, are there clothes then? You wear a little pointed pixie hat?
I think it's they're gonna have to wear a little pointed pixie hat, and just sort of like just like a ragged smock, totally Donald Ducking it.
You're a house elf.
Yeah,
smocks are allowed to go lower than that.
Oh yeah.
But
I don't think that in true form they have any bits to worry about.
Oh, okay. They're sort of
they don't and we can get into this in like my idea for what sort of fey creature this is, but there's no reproduction with this sort of
right. They're not
creature.
like a fixed gender.
So they're smooth.
Yeah, they are smooth.
Ken doll smooth.
But of course, shapeshifter, so they can also have whatever they want.
Yeah, they can try on any bits they like.
Mm-hmm.
I would quite like, with a long smock, to see you dressed as that pixie, please.
Same.
I think that you might need to do that for social media promo purposes.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or live shows, yeah. I think Helen would really like it. Your wife would be very into it and she would help you put that costume together. I'm
sure
confident of that.
Yeah.
How about stats?
No, it's Strat stats.
As the Monstrous, you get a sort of a special thing in your stats, which is that you're the only one who gets to start with any +3s. You always get +3 weird, whichever.
Oh, I thought I'm the only one. Oh, right.
Yep. It's almost like a move that you start with is that you have an extra +1 to your weird.
Yeah.
So all of your options have +3 weird, and then you have various different options for what your other stats are going to be. What do you reckon?
So this kind of depends.
Okay.
Because, I said where the moves have to almost like you have to take them because of what you want. So part of what I wanted to do with the character, and this is, I guess, I need to negotiate with you, is that I wanted Brier essentially to be the guardian of the local forest, which would be called the Rosebrier Forest.
Sounds good.
And they have been there and grown with the forest. So they weren't really born. They were just like, hey, the forest kind of made me. So they would be centuries old and just like hanging out and looking after the forest and making sure it's as nice and good a forest as can be and protecting it from outside influences and all that.
Could you be maybe maybe you're made by the collective belief that there's something in the forest?
I was thinking that, but I also wanted like the forest to almost be like the reason they have to look after the forest is because if the forest goes, so does Brier. Like if the forest were to be torn down or set on fire or like houses built on top of it, Brier is no more. There's like they are inextricably linked. Like they draw their power from the forest.
Sure.
They are the forest, which would mean he has been there for a very, very long time, which would mean I would technically have to take immortal. But really what immortal does, it does say you don't age or sicken or you have to suffer one less harm. But I didn't know if we could say that I have been around for that long as flavor, and so I don't have to take the immortal, so I could get sicker or I still am taking harm. And if I want to level up and do that, then I can.
Yeah.
If that is all right.
Yeah. I go for the playbook options that are most fun. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like they're taking something out of obligation or because it's like, I mean, it is a literal box ticking exercise to fill in these playbooks, but I don't want it to feel like one. It's got to be fun. We can definitely say like you are sort of an ageless being of story or whatever it is without needing the actual mechanical like immortal move.
You're Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, and I definitely think that like there's room in the story for like the various different explanations. So there would definitely be people like, I don't know, maybe the DO or some other hunters who would explain it as, from the moment that people started seeing this forest as something that protected them, that was when a protector spirit would arise from their belief. But that doesn't mean that you have to believe that that's how you came about, and I'm sure there'll be other people who would think it works different ways.
Yeah,
it's a chicken and egg situation that we don't necessarily have to find a definitive answer to.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's true. I think that as the forest grew, or as people used it, or it became like a bigger forest, maybe the conscious, like Brier solidifies. Like it could have just been a will-o'-the-wisp sort of thing, and then it's sort of like, I'm a small thing, and like, I can change into stuff.
Yeah, I heard a he a second ago. Are you using he/him pronouns?
Oh yeah. Well, I think they are they. I think in human form he would present as probably like more on the male side of things, but kind of yeah.
Pronouns can be fluid. We can go with like a they them as default, and then like depending on how you're presenting or whatever, you can set what your pronouns are in any given moment.
They're very fluid creature, so and spend most of their time as an animal anyway. So like a human form is not their normal. They do that to interact with humans in a non-weird way, because they discovered that talking animals freak humans out.
Fair enough.
Unless they want to freak humans out, and then they're all up for talking.
Sometimes you've got to. So back to
this. So I would like to go for. It's weird. I had the same thing with you, Chris, where the one that you want isn't quite there, but that's fine. I think I'm going to go with weird +3.
Yeah.
As established. Tough +2, sharp 0, cool -1, charm -1.
Okay. The tough +2 seems to make sense for like a guardian.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll have various animal forms in which to kick some ass.
So is there a limit on what you can transform into, or is it just your imagination?
I want to enforce some limitations on myself. It's going to be kind of woodland or forest creatures and stuff that would be within the UK or at some point in history. So wolves, bears, bulls might be some of the more powerful things. I don't think they would be able to turn into an elephant. Maybe, though, one day we'll go to the zoo and a whole world of possibilities will open up.
Yeah, the move is pretty flexible. It just says you can change your form, decide if you just have one alternate form or several. So, you just sort of decide at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've got some ideas around that as well.
All right. So then the fun part is, how do we create this particular kind of woodland pixie using the Monstrous playbook? So you pick, you have to pick a curse, which is a disadvantage of the type of creature that you are.
Yep. A
natural attack or 2, and 2 moves.
Yep. And
so talk to us about this particular like mythology that you're drawing on, and which options you've picked to get there.
Sure. So I'm basing this creature on a púca, which is a creature of Celtic folklore. They were thought to be bringers of both good and bad fortune, and to help or hinder rural communities. They're generally benevolent, mischievous. They like to help. There's a story about them, kind of like the shoemaker's daughter or whatever, where the little pixies come in to make the shoes. There's a story where they convinced a púca to come and help them bale all their hay overnight. Their biggest thing that they like to do, and their favorite animal and favorite kind of form, is a jet black stallion. And whereas like things like kelpies and the like to tempt humans in and then grab them and like go away and eat them or drown them in pools, the púca would convince humans to get on its back as a stallion, and then just take them on a shit scary ride around on the back of a really fast horse, and then just deposit them where they picked up and go away. So
like a sort of non-consensual roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
Harmless, but if you weren't expecting it, then you don't want it.
Yeah, I think they see the human race as kind of playthings, as like they're nice, they're there, they come and enjoy my forest so long as they don't do anything bad. But also, I can scare the crap out of them if I like to. So they're kind of like an oddity to them. There's also the character that they reckon Puck was based on.
Oh, yeah.
Which you can see in the name. Love
to get a theatrical reference into our Theatrical People podcast.
Absolutely.
Nerds.
That's what Brier is based on. And yeah, they're going to be a deft shapeshifters, and like they're foxes or they're crows or they're whatever kind of creatures there are. In terms of the curse, I think I'm going to go with a kind of classic Fey vulnerability of iron.
Makes sense. Yeah, so this will mean if you get damaged with cold iron, you'll suffer extra harm from it. And if you're bound with it or surrounded by it, then it's harder to use any of your monstrous moves.
Yeah. I was thinking of going on a pure drive of like joy or something.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, but I don't know. Those were the two I wanted to choose from. Maybe I'm still a little bit torn between them, because the pure drive, that works by essentially if there's a chance to indulge in that emotion, I have to do so immediately. So if there's something that I think Brier is going to take a lot of joy from doing, I just have to do it.
We could even call it mischief, and it'd be like, oh, you've got an opportunity to pants that man. You must pants that man.
I'm seeing it as like a dog in a park jumping into a pile of leaves.
So there is that, because vulnerability is something to run away from, whereas I guess the pure drive is something to actually, it gives us something to actually to drive something forward or to do, or to gives you certainly, Matt, an opportunity to make things difficult for us.
Yeah, it's kind of like the vulnerability is more a mechanical disadvantage, whereas the pure drive is more of like a role-playing challenge or role-playing hook.
You know what? Yeah, let's go with that then. Let's go pure drive joy, and we'll see what frustrating things Brier does when they're all meant to be fighting some unknowable evil.
Yeah.
Cameron's going to love this guy.
Brier's just there for the lols. He's like, oh yeah, you're fighting a scary monster, but look at this fun trick I can do.
Yeah, I'm a horse.
Fighting a scary monster, but I'm over here on the trampoline.
Yep. So, okay, yeah, pure drive joy then. Let's do that.
That's cool.
Like it might be fun.
Okay.
So the natural attacks. So pick a base and add an extra to it, or 2 bases. So I can have a base of teeth or claws, magical force, or life drain, and then extras of doing more harm, ignoring armor, or extra range. So I want my base to be claws. Yeah, right. Even when you know how like some people have creepily long fingers.
Oh yeah,
like that sort of like like with very well manicured nails and that sort of stuff. So yes, claws. I was thinking also that there's lots of animals that can have claws.
Yeah,
and also the púca is known for, even when in a humanoid form, to often brings kind of certain animal like features along as well.
That's cool.
So it might have, I don't know, rabbit's ears or something.
Contributes to your bestial aura.
Indeed. So have claws, and then either I would go with teeth as well, or I might add an extra harm. Ignore armor. So armor's the thing that takes harm off, right? Yeah. So you just...
Yes, most monsters will have at least some armor.
Right. Okay.
You'll be doing your harm minus the monster's armor most of the time.
Okay. So that would ignore all armor rather than just adding one onto it. So I might go, claws and ignore some armor then.
Sounds good.
Yeah, kind of like the fact that it's not necessarily... It's either razor sharp or Brier just can see the chinks.
That's good, yeah.
Claw in a gap.
See the flaws, see the weaknesses. Yeah, I like that. Yes, so that's your natural attack, your natural weapon that nobody can ever take off you. Whatever form you're in, you always have that.
Yeah.
And then moves. So we've already talked about shapeshifter.
Yes, so I need to take the shapeshifter move. Absolutely, certainly.
And then I'm not going to force you to take immortal if there's another one that you think fits as well.
Yeah, so I either wanted, so unnatural appeal, so that allows me to roll weird instead of charm when trying to manipulate someone.
Which is good for you because you're very weird.
Yeah, which I think fits. Or preternatural speed, so I can be super duper quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will go with unnatural appeal.
That fits everything that you said when you were sort of describing what they look like in a human form. That have that sort of weird ethereal appeal.
Yeah, it's also pulling on things again, like the genius loci, as I mentioned from Rivers of London. They have a glamour. It's this fey thing of like people just tend to do what they're told by them without really realizing. So it's not that Brier is good at convincing people. It's just that the woodland gives him magics.
Have you got any followers, Richard?
So I had an idea that Brier has been looking after this forest for a very long time, right? And to begin with, that would be maybe getting in with the local dignitaries or something so they can help manage forests. But in this new modern age that we're in, essentially what he has managed to do is manipulate local government to sell it off to the National Trust. So it is protected. So I think there is like a management team of volunteers that one of his personas is like the National Trust forestry management person.
I like it.
And he sort of like is in charge of all those volunteers. So they don't know that they're followers of him, but they certainly do what they're told when they're in the forest and help clean everything up and look after it.
Nice.
Yeah.
We know that there are other woodland fae as well because Josh created them as part of his character creation.
Yep.
We know that Ginny Greenteeth has some pull with the woodland fae.
Absolutely.
So what's your standing with them? Are they your subjects or are they the community that you are protecting?
I think they're like community that they're protecting. I don't think it's the sort of community, like there's that much hierarchy within it. They're there. They know like that we all have our jobs, and mine is to look after the forest. And if I do that, then they are looked after as well. I think there is a hierarchy above us. There are big ones. There's probably like the Leshy or something of like the god of all forests, spirit of all forests. I kind of like the idea that for the last few decades, their kind of attention has been taken by like the Amazon or something and all the shit that's going on over there. And Europe's kind of been left to all of like the middle management. So yeah, I think that clearly Brier's going to know about all the other Fey presences there, and I think there's going to be a lot of respect for him, and obviously they need to do that. So yeah,
as much respect as you can ever get from Fey.
Exactly.
So Brier's sort of like their, not externally recognised spokesperson because he's got this forestry management position for the National Trust.
Yeah.
So he's literally their kind of conduit for communication with the outside non-Fey world.
Mm. Plus, none of the other Fae are going to be shape-shifting into humans.
Right. So are you the only one? You're the only one of your kind in that forest?
Yes. I think I like the idea that every forest has its guardian.
Right.
Which is this sort of Fae, and Brier is the one for our town. So there'll be other púcas all over the place looking after various forests and woodlands. But yeah, Brier's this one.
Do they ever get together for a party?
Yes, I reckon there's probably some yearly, maybe like at the solstice or anything.
Yeah.
Like it's a big,
like a feast,
Fey bash. Yeah,
It'd be amazing to go to a fairy party.
Just don't eat the food.
Yeah.
Don't eat the vol au vents. It's not worth it.
Vol au vents are rarely worth it.
So the last thing on the playbook is you get some gear if you want. You don't have to take gear, but you're allowed one handy weapon if you want one.
I would say a lot of them don't really make sense. And none of the guns or even big knife sounds kind of...
Almost everybody has the option of big knife.
Yeah. The only thing that I could think to make sense would be some sort of sword with a load of, like natural filigree around the handle, or something that looks like really old, like with a wooden hilt but is kind of HO. It's like the weapon that I have used to defend it.
Like, you might as well take the option, and you don't have to use it if you don't think it's appropriate. But it's like, you've got the option, you might as well have one.
I do like the sense that if push come to shove, Brier, when it goes like full guardian, because the other thing is that the púcas would turn into kind of like monster. They can say they're like terrifying forms, and it's meant to be like the half human, half bull like thing. I like to think somewhere in there's a giant, like, terrifying protector creature that he come out with, which maybe does just then get the huge sword and is like, get the fuck out of my forest. But Brier's never had cause to call on that form because he lives next to a tiny little village in Middle England somewhere.
It'd be made of like flint or something. It doesn't need to be metal.
Oh, I like that. Yes. Yeah, like a huge flint sword. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Put it out of the ground.
Are you going with sword or huge sword?
Okay, let's go with huge sword. Let's put a big scary monster in him somewhere, because I think that's quite nice, really, because the monstrous, there's the opportunity to get to be the big scary thing. It'd be nice to know that's in there somewhere.
Yeah, go from this 1.5 foot pixie Donald Duck in a smock to this like enormous thing of thorns and rocks holding this giant flint sword. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, it almost sounds like at that point they're transforming into the forest. Maybe that's what it's like. It's more like a tiny like treant kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That like the ultimate guardian of the forest is to take a lot of the forest and become a living embodiment of it, like the avatar of the forest.
Getting into Groot territory.
Yeah.
I like it. Lots of different options. I mean, this is the nice thing about being a shapeshifter. You can decide what you look like at any given time. You can play with all these different possibilities.
Oh, and just like for when it comes to shapeshifting, I've been giving some sort of like how I want that process to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's the shapeshifting that werewolves do, which is you see it happen. It's like, "Rrr." And I think Brier would look at them and think that they are amateurs. And for such a deaf shapeshifter, it's almost like just a blink of the eye. Like, there's no sound, there's no transformation. You just blink, and there would suddenly be a horse in front of you, and you could blink again, and suddenly it would be a rat. And they'd be like, it almost like you don't. The brain of everyone doesn't even comprehend what's happening. It's just like, oh, there's that thing there now.
Just a rustle of leaves, and suddenly you're
slight breeze, and there it is. And another, because I have thought about this a lot, the reason, by the way, that it managed to be taken over by the National Trust, which is this strange little forest next to Tiny Town, is that Brier made sure he had transformed into particularly rare breeds of bird and other animals when people were there, so that it's been essentially marked as like an area of scientific interest, of special scientific interest, because of all these interesting wildlife that lives there. But it's just Brier who occasionally has to remember to be, I know, some lesser spotted woodpecker or something near a bunch of tourists, and then okay, good. They still think they're there.
That's good. That's another reason to have various different interesting groups of people coming into town. I like that a lot. Does Brier have any sort of contact or relationship with the Department of Omissions?
Yes, I think that they know of one another for sure. I'm sure there's a file on Brier at the local DO archives.
Like, if every woodland has a guardian, they'll be keeping a spreadsheet of who they all are.
Yeah, there's probably like acts as almost like an ambassador to the DO, sort of like the contact between the kind of mortal world and the Fey world.
Does Brier has taken on a lot of these kind of slightly bureaucratic responsibilities of dealing with the National Trust and dealing with the DO on the behalf of Fey. Yeah. For a person who is driven purely by joy, like, do they like doing all of this kind of liaison stuff, or is it a burden?
I think it's a bit of a burden. I think it's the cross they bear. Like, they understand that that's the day job, and which is why I think that they've probably been known, like púcas throughout history have probably been known to be this kind of mischievous thing, because they've just got to let it all out. And because they're having to deal with these tiresome humans, And there always seems to be a new human they have to deal with, like every 60 years or so. It's ridiculous. They change so frequently. So they also, they have their fun where they can. So I think also he enjoys, probably with the DO, that's the boring bit. I think he's enjoyed the creation of getting the National Trust involved and all of the fun he had, like tricking people into thinking the wood is something that it is not, and having fun with all the tourists, and probably getting his volunteers to do things that are completely unnecessary. Or, they accidentally find that there's like a stream or something that wasn't there the last time they walked this track. So they end up, up to their knees in water for no apparent reason and things like that.
Would you like to add any other features to Sherrydown town? Just because, we've talked a lot about the woods. I already had woods on my list, so if you want to add anything else, feel free.
I don't think to the town, however, to the woods itself, right in the center, I would like to add those really thick trunk trees that almost look disfigured, like they're so big and weird, like the Fern Gully kind of weird tree. I want one of those. Which has like a load of like carvings all over it of like faces, but like really crudely carved faces and kind of what people might think were letters or runes. But it's like really old and really weathered, and there's probably 100 different stories as to where they're from. And I want that to be Brier's home.
Very good. It's there. It exists. And then what? And this sort of leads on from the, how much does Brier actually enjoy dealing with humans question. What made you join up with this ragtag band of defenders of Sherrydown?
I think over the years, there's probably been plenty of threats against the woodland, against the town. Brier knows that they're kind of linked, particularly in more modern times, like beforehand where the wood could just exist without really much help from mortals. Now in the world, like Brier knows that if it's not going to be developed onto or turned into a playground or something, he needs that these humans are suddenly of importance. And this is part of like keeping in the good books of the DO and to curry favor. Plus, sometimes it's probably quite fun. There's probably if it's so bestial, there's probably this sense of a hunter. I mean, you can't spend your entire life being wolves and foxes and predatory birds and not fancy doing it.
Yeah, you can look like prey animals, but you never are one, are you?
No, absolutely.
Very cool. Any further questions about Brier?
Are you able to turn into inanimate objects, or is it just living beings?
Just living beings.
Okay, that's a shame.
Yeah, no rocks or trees or anything.
Or toasters or
toasters. No. I like the sense that all of the power and everything, life force and all the abilities, all comes from the life force of the forest. So everything, all the magic, because I know we get basic magic moves and stuff, everything will be very much nature based and draw from there. So that's why it's probably, I don't want to be able to say, and Brier becomes a tiger or a crocodile or something, because that's not really, doesn't come from the sort of nature that they were born from.
Do you have any particular enemies? Any mystical, magical types?
I don't know. Maybe not personally, but I like the idea, like there being this kind of fey world that is kind of in parallel to the mortal world. So perhaps there's sort of like I inherit the enemies of the fey world. There are probably things out there that don't like them in general, or want to feed off the power that they can get from the earth or something, so that they're kind of they're a threat.
Maybe you weren't always a guardian against humans. Maybe you're guarding the forest against something else, and humans have just become more prominent.
Yeah. Yes, that's it does say the human race has never been They up until now have never been a massive threat to them. So yeah, it makes sense that there was a big threat maybe once upon a time that has dwindled for some reason.
Well, we can have a think about what types of supernatural entities might threaten the forest. Cool. Well, I think in that case, Strat, you're ready to play.
Cool. I'll turn into a horse then. Clip clop.
This has been Vigil, a main house production from Merely Roleplayers. It stars Chris Starkey as Cameron Jarvis, Natalie Winter as Gwynned, Strat as Brier, and Josh Yard as Ginny Greenteeth. Sound design for this production is by Natalie Winter, and the theme music is by Alex Pankhurst. I'm Matt Boothman, and I play the supporting cast, as well as editing and producing this episode. We were playing Monster of the Week, a role-playing game by Michael Sands, published by Evil Hat Productions. You can find Monster of the Week at genericgames.co.nz. Merely Roleplayers is a Foggy Outline production in association with Blackshaw Theatre Company. Until next time, if drama be the food of life, play on.